What happened today at the Hungarian Grand Prix? Papaya problems, Red Bull's radio aggression, and Hamilton continues to extend his records. So, some of the things we're going to talk about today on Overtakes, a Formula One podcast where we give you our takes from the track. So, we're just going to jump right into it today. We had a very interesting podium. We can all say well deserved finally, but we can talk about if it was deserved today for Oscar Piastri in first place. Second place goes to Lando Norris, and third place to Lewis Hamilton, the GOAT. This is Piastri's first win of his F1 career, and this is the seventh race winner we've had this season. Quite an interesting one. And Lewis Hamilton with his 200th podium of his career. So what did you guys think about the end results of today's podium?
Go ahead, Will.
Let me start off. First off, I wrote some notes over here. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but Lando cannot start a race for squat. He gets P1, and then he just completely just gives it up in turn one. And it's not the first time this happens. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was kind of funny because he didn't start well as soon as the lights went out. And then he tries to push Oscar against the wall just to hey, chill. Let me stay in P1 here. And then, Verstappen, the GOAT that he is, tries to go off the outside. And that little scuffle in the beginning. But look, I'm happy for Piastri. Congratulations. I just thought it was kind of a weird win. I've seen this before back in the days when I used to watch F1 when I was a kid for Ferrari, Schumacher with Barrichello. I don't know. In my opinion, and we may argue on this, Lando should have just not swapped. I'm sorry. He just should have just keep going, my guy.
Also, we're going to go right into it. We're going to talk
Let's go
about
right
papaya
into
problems.
it. Lando should have taken this and just kept it. I have my reasons. If you want, we can argue about it right now. Eddie, I know you were going for Piastri. I'm kind of mad because you get the point in our podcasters championship. But Lando should have just grew some big ones and just kept his position. Eddie? Talk to me. I can't wait. Go.
I mean, I couldn't disagree more. Oscar, especially that it's Oscar. Oscar, who's followed every single team order. He's made so many sacrifices for Lando. And Lando can only win one race. And Oscar sacrifices his race every single time for Lando. And this time they screwed over Oscar again with strategy. Undercut him by his teammate again. They always mess up his strategy. And for 10 laps, they're telling it more than 10 laps, 15 laps, every single lap. They're like, Lando, give the position. Swap. And at one point they asked, radio check, because he was just ignoring him. And you don't do that to the people who pay your salary. Like, at the end of the day, it's team orders. And he's not going to catch Max this year in the championship. He needs to keep the relationships between him, his team, and his teammate intact. And just going rogue and not giving the win back is not the way to do it.
Wait, so that's what you're saying? That he's not going to catch Max then for this championship? And that's why... Because for me, Eddie, Lando is the closest one to catch up to Max.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the 25 points so he can start closing in that gap. Oh, no, let's give it to Lando. Look, to Piastri. Look, started
they're not
that
giving
race.
it to Piastri. Piastri earned it. They screwed Piastri over. Piastri got him off the line.
Look.
On a track where you cannot overtake. You cannot overtake. He was controlling the whole race, and they decide to pit Lando first so that he comes out ahead of Oscar.
They cannot overtake on this lap, on this race. I saw so many overtakes on this race.
Sure.
I think that's the stupidest comment for this
but
track ever.
when you force it, things like what happened to Max happen, and you don't want that to happen between teammates. So you're gonna tell him to race, or you're gonna tell him to swap positions?
Here's my thing, Eddie. Here's my overtake. I agree. Piastri was dominating, right? Since the lights went out. Completely agree with you. But then I blame it on McLaren for the whole undercut situation. It was awkward, right? Once Lando came out in the front, and then he was just like, okay, I'll get it. He heard it on the radio. It's like, hey, once he catches, he might be right behind you, and then we'll give the position back. 100% agree. Fine. Because he was dominating. Piastri was dominating. But then Lando is just opening up the gap. And I agree with him when he was saying, hey, tell him to catch up, and then I'll give him the position. He wasn't catching up. He had tires 2 laps fresh, and still from 4 seconds, and I saw that gap open to 5 seconds, and then I saw that gap open to 6 seconds. Lando, just take it home. He's not catching up. And then, I agree. The team wins championships together as a team, but he wasn't catching up. Take it home. That was my view. If I was a driver, I would have just taken it home. And I heard DC saying that in the same situation as well. Man, I'm not giving this position back. I'm just going to take it. But at the end of the day, Lando was really nice about it. But yes, Piastri won. Should have won it because he dominated. Lando could have taken it. That's my take.
Let me get my take in real quick, because I was just letting you guys talk, especially Eddie, because whatever. So I'm sitting there on the couch watching this game with Will, and
race
with Will, and basically I see that Piastri comes out behind Lando, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is before all the radio stuff. I'm like, if I'm McLaren, just let him race. Because at this point, Lando's way ahead of him in the driver championship. And there's drama at Red Bull. So there's possibilities of more spiraling later in this season. So let them race. This is the decision they made. Maybe they did the decision behind doors because they wanted Norris to be up top because he is their number one driver. We've seen sketchy stuff like that happen before in Formula One. When they come out on the radio and they tell Norris that they want to reestablish positions, I was completely caught off guard. I looked at Will and I was just like, no. This can't be. This can't be a thing.
It had to be. They screwed Oscar.
Okay, but here's the thing.
That's their problem then.
Lando Norris did not screw up. Okay? And Piastri did not screw up. The team screwed up. So I think it was very professional at the end of the race for Lando Norris to not act like a child the way Max Verstappen would have. For him to be happy for his teammate, for him to just say good things about his teammate, but no comment on his team. Because this is clearly a huge McLaren error. And McLaren looks really stupid for even letting this happen. Yes, Piastri should have won this race. Yes. But the way it all went down, Norris should have just said, F you, I'm going to win this race. Because you guys made a mistake. You guys have been making mistakes all season, and you haven't been trying to put Band-Aids on any of those mistakes until now. Sorry. So, I don't know.
They still took the P1 and the P2. That's the best thing a team can ask for. But Lando should have taken it.
I just don't get how you don't see it that way, Eddie.
Because the way I don't see it is because it was a race of tire management. Every team was managing tires. Every driver was managing tires except Lando Norris, including Oscar Piastri. They were all managing tires, and Oscar was told to manage tires, and Lando was told to manage tires. And every single lap, they told Lando, "You're not managing tires. You're pushing like it's a quali lap," so that he can
because
build a
they
gap
wanted
and say,
Oscar to go in front.
So because they wanted to maintain what happens at the end of the race if Lando uses too much of his tires and he gets a puncture, then they get 0 points. You understand? It's such a heavy degradation track that they're telling him you need to take care of your tires, which is what Oscar was doing. And the reason that Lando pulled a gap at the end is because he was pushing like it was a quali lap every single time. And every lap they told him, you're using your tires too much, you're using your tires too much, you're using your tires too much. That's the only reason he got a 5-second gap.
I think I remember hearing Piastri was using his tires just as equal. Because Piastri said, I can't keep going at this pace at one point. I believe it was something along those lines, not word for word.
Yeah, it was
so they're both pushing.
Yeah, on like lap 67.
Why isn't Piastri closer to him?
On lap 67, they said, okay, it looks like both cars are now using their tires. out of a 70
No.
lap
No,
race.
they've been using the tires.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
I don't know. The way they showed it on the
Man,
TV is they were telling Norris he's using his tires too much
Yeah, but they weren't showing you Piastri's radio.
because you can tell that you know that the radios were different.
The
You
story
have to know that the
was
two radios were
Norris.
different.
The story was Norris give up the first position. It wasn't let's listen in on Piastri. It was let's listen in on Norris and see how he's going to react.
Because they were talking to Norris. I'm sure they weren't talking to Piastri every lap, telling him you're using your tires too much. Otherwise, we would have heard it. They were very good about checking in on team radios when drivers were not in compatible with their team.
We can agree to disagree on that. I don't know. I don't think we're going to come to a consensus where we're both going to agree on this. I think we're just going to disagree. I think me and Will are pretty much on the same page.
Lando should have taken it.
Yeah.
Or if anything, I was even telling V, like on the last lap, just still keeping the lead, just to like be nice, but like mean at the same time. Just like halted right before crossing the line. Just like halted, just to let Oscar pass by, and take the win. I would have just stopped the car right there and just let him go and then go. That's what I would have done, but that's why I'm not an F1.
No, at the end of the day, Lando did the right thing. But if I'm Lando,
so if Lando did the right thing, then it would have been wrong for him to win the race.
I'm telling you, it's not Lando's fault. It's not Piastri's fault. This is McLaren's fault. Okay, and Lando has never had to do this before. So if I'm Lando, I'm gonna go into that meeting and say, I'm never doing this again. So stop making mistakes. If you ask me to give up position 1 for Piastri ever again because of your mistake, I'm not doing it. And McLaren should learn something from this. They have 2 mature drivers. That's what they learned today.
This happens a lot, though. Swapping drivers happens a lot.
Okay, but not in this position. Most of the time, the driver swap happens because one guy is further ahead in the driver championship. This was just like
driver swap happen if they think that the team can get an advantage. In this case, they were worried about Hamilton
Piastri to have
up.
First. They were like, "Oh, let's give Piastri his first win." God. I think that's what it was.
I think
that's how I felt too. Nothing against Piastri, but look, I'm looking at the drivers' championship right here, and Lando is in second place. Let him get 25 points to close the gap, even if Max is way ahead. I get it, but like, there's a chance. Oscar's in 5th place. Whatever. I'm mad.
We can agree to disagree. Let's look at the driver championship. So if we're looking at 1 through 10, we did have, I guess the most important thing that happened in 1 through 10 was Lewis Hamilton went up 2 positions. He went from 8 to 6. Bringing down Sergio and bringing down George Russell. George Russell had a very tough weekend after qualifying, staying back in 3rd. I'm sorry, not making it past Q1. And he basically was in 17th position when he started the race. So to come back from 17 and to end in 8th position, I thought that was pretty good result for Mercedes this weekend. And that is probably why Sergio didn't drop to 8 and Russell stayed at 8. But next weekend for sure we should be seeing Sergio drop another position. And then when we go to 11 through 21, boring. Nothing happened. We just had Yuki with 2 points this weekend, tying him with Nico Hulkenberg for 11th. But Nico stays at 11 and Yuki is at 12. Comments on the driver champions, guys. Eddie, what you got?
No, I mean, I think George and Checo did a good job to score points. I mean, they started 16th and 17th, and then they finished 7th and 8th. They made up a lot of places and ended up scoring points that their teams needed, which is really good.
Yeah, impressive for both of them. Stuff they should be doing, and they did. Will?
Checo came through, right? This whole drama we've been hearing about it these past few days about him not assisting and doing anything. He was up there. Ferrari, my dear team that I, wish the best always, has now dropped to third. I'm not going to talk too much on that,
Well,
but
we're on the drivers' championship, not on the constructors.
oh damn, I'm looking at the constructors. Lewis Hamilton up 2 points, third place. Hey, I feel like we barely touched base on it, but 200 podiums, dang, 200 podiums for Mr. Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
The goat. The goat. Let's talk real quick before we go to the constructors championship. Let's talk about Red Bull, since we were briefly touched upon Sergio and now we're talking about Lewis. Let's start with Sergio and his car accident.
Oh gosh.
In Q1 on Saturday. Eddie, give it to us.
Yeah. I mean, it was wet. He spun, destroyed his car, and he did it in Q1. It's like he does very frequently now, and ended up getting knocked out because everybody started improving. There was a chance that he was going to make it into Q2 even after the crash, but the track dried up a little bit. Everybody improved on their times, and honestly, I would say that like it's worse that George Russell went out in Q1 than Checo, because Checo crashed the car, and George Russell
Yeah.
it was like big mistakes from him and the team.
He was just twiddling his thumbs in Q1.
Yeah, like
That
he
whole
set a
no
bad
gas
lap.
thing
Yeah,
in the car, I was like, are you Mercedes or Kick Sauber? Like, come on.
yep. They just underfueled the
How do you
car.
mess this up?
I didn't know teams were doing that.
No, Eddie, but when I texted you after FP2 with Leclerc taking it into the wall too,
Oh yeah,
I sent him a gift. You gotta be kidding me. You
yeah.
gotta
I
be
mean,
kidding
Yuki
me.
crashed too. There were a lot of crashes
Yeah.
in practice and
No,
qualifying.
Yuki didn't crash. He flew.
Logan crashed.
There's still no camera angle showing what Yuki hit that gave him so much air.
Yeah,
I
don't know.
wanted to see like what caused him to go. It was like, it must have been like 5-6 feet in the air, that car.
Yeah,
But you got to give it up to RB to fix that car in time for the race, because that thing was messed up.
Yep.
And that's another Red Bull drama for the weekend right there. How about, I think the MVP for the entire weekend is the radio, because when Perez was having that crash, we were listening to Max Verstappen complain on the radio, and he was like, "Oh, it's too wet for these, blah blah blah." And then you have Christian Horner and him fighting. He's like, "Well, if you have a problem with it, come into the pit and we'll talk about it." Blah blah blah. You know. So
and then
that
Checo red flagged it so that he can get another lap in.
Exactly. And
that's
then
a team player.
Definitely, he is. If you look at it that way.
He red flagged quali so that Max could get another lap in.
Well, it doesn't matter, because Helmut Marko was not happy about that. He was saying that we'll see after Spa what happens to Checo.
So, yeah, unfortunately, I think his time at Red Bull is over.
Definitely.
I did see another comment from Helmut Marko saying we're going to wait until after the Belgian Grand Prix to make a decision on what happens to Checo's seat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He did good this race. Let's see what happens on the next one.
I mean, if he had qualified reasonably, he might have beaten Max. Like he would probably be in the mix, because he finished like 18 seconds behind.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about the fact that he had to pass 10 cars, like that could easily cost you those 18 seconds.
Yeah, but at least he did good in the race, and he didn't stay at the back of the pack.
Yeah.
That was good for him. So the other thing that happened with Red Bull this weekend was Max's over-aggression in general.
Yeah, he was not liking the upgrades, I think. He just couldn't drive the car.
Smacking the steering wheel at the end of qualifying. And then the aggression just continued into the race. Right at the beginning, going off the track. So when it happened...
that wasn't a car's fault, though.
Well, he was just being aggressive, which is fine.
Lando and Oscar
But
just like elbows out a little bit. He went off. But
I wanted to know if you think, Eddie, if Red Bull made a good decision in telling him to give up position, because after we saw the replay, it looked like he was ahead of Norris when he went off track.
in the apex.
It's
So
risky. It's risky if he doesn't give up the position, and then the stewards say that he's risking a penalty there.
mhm,
Right.
at least
So
10 seconds.
yeah, it's better to just give up the position.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So Max was upset about that. So he was heated already in that moment. But I do agree. I do think it was a good move from Red Bull. And then for the rest of the race, there's just like quote after quote of like Max just punching Red Bull over the radios, crazy aggression, which then led to his incident with Hamilton. What do you think about that, Will?
I was telling you earlier too. He always complains, right? Every Grand Prix, you hear Max complaining, "Oh, the wheel this, the brakes this, the accelerator pedal this and that." He dominates, right? So I'm like, oh, it's another case. He'll catch up, and that, I wouldn't say beef, but that little stint of him and Hamilton fighting, loved it. Took me back to those little 2021 memories. And then when he just couldn't stop, and then just they collided together. I honestly thought that they were both out. Like the 1 second reaction of mine, I'm like, great, they're both out now. Luckily, Hamilton's car got no damage. Max's car got some airtime there, but nothing happened really. I thought he had a puncture. He kept
He's
going.
lucky. Yeah, he's really lucky
They're
that
both
he
lucky.
was able to drive that
I
car.
honestly thought both of them weren't going to finish the race,
Yeah.
but I kind of loved it. Um, yeah, kind of glad they kept on going, but Max was just pushing it. That's Max.
He's definitely he's lucky that he didn't get any floor damage, and maybe there was some, but it didn't seem like it was drastic because he get past Leclerc or he stayed behind Leclerc.
No, he stayed behind
Yeah,
Leclerc.
he stayed behind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we won't know if he did have some damage or not.
If they wouldn't collided, I honestly think Max would have gotten P3.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because he was just he would go like something would happen, Hamilton would open up the gap, but a few laps in, he was right there. He would open up right there until they collided, at the end there, and that just ruined it. He wasn't able to recover there, but Max being Max,
Yeah.
I liked it. I loved it.
What do you think of that, Eddie?
I thought it was good racing, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like, Max made a mistake. He went in too hot and locked up his brakes. But other than that, I think that they were like it was just fair racing from both sides.
It was a lot of fun to see Hamilton
Yeah,
defending him.
yeah, it was really cool.
So he had to go see the stewards after the race. I didn't really see anything from that, but I'm sure we'll hear about it soon.
They did. They chose not to. I saw they chose not to give him a penalty.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Good.
a racing incident. Even Lewis saying it in the post race interview probably helped because Lewis said it's just a racing incident.
Yeah. I mean, his tires locked up.
Oh, and I mean that's his fault though. Like his tires
Max.
just didn't. Yeah, that's Max's fault that he locked his tires because he was just carrying too much speed, and then he had to brake too hard.
But I honestly don't think Max would have done that on purpose, to kind of like mess up both of their races. So I would agree. No racing incident. I don't know. It's a racing incident, no penalty given, but I don't think it was on purpose. It was just a good race.
No.
It clearly wasn't as bad as the Norris incident we had like 2 races ago.
Yeah, in Austria.
So I want to bring back some papaya problems real quick. So when you are McLaren and you see the driver in first place of the champions having a bad weekend and he's gonna actually underperform and score less points, because Will and I both agree, I'm gonna direct this question to Eddie. Why wouldn't you want your number one driver who is in second place behind Max Verstappen? Why wouldn't you want him to get the 25 points? What if towards the end of the season he loses by 7 points, 5 points, 3 points? It would have been like, well, if you would have let me buy, if you would have let me keep position, then I would have won. And now it's your fault as a team that I didn't win the drivers' championship.
I'm gonna stay quiet on this one.
No, of course they would want him to win, but they would also want Oscar to win because
But Oscar's nowhere
their
near
driver
being
too.
the drivers' champions.
No. Okay, my point is who deserved to win that race? Was it the guy who was leading for 55 laps and then because you pitted his teammate, he came out behind his teammate?
McLaren just needs to have some balls and realize who their number one driver is. That's it.
Okay. They can't just abandon their driver. Their driver, Oscar, deserved to win the race.
I get you, but the fact that they messed up and they screwed up the strategy, Lando should have kept it. And that would have been on them. They would have been like, damn, we keep doing this to Oscar. That would have proved the point. I mean, I guess, right? But like, I don't know.
We don't know the extent of what happened exactly. Yeah. But if Lando was disobeying team orders and pushing too hard and compromising his race and risking a puncture to where he could get 0 points, that's detrimental to the team.
Because those team orders were stupid.
What? If you have to preserve tires, you have to preserve tires. It's very simple.
I don't think it would have gotten to that point, that they were just going to keep going all out, and then cause a puncture to each other. If they would have just kept cruising.
No, I'm saying just wearing out your tires too much, your tire could just pop.
The only driver you should be concerned about managing your tires is Oscar Piastri, because he's proven that he has trouble managing them. He's getting better at it.
He proved today that he's perfectly fine managing his tires because he
You don't have to worry about Lando.
Laps.
You don't have to worry about Lando. Lando hasn't had that problem in my memory recently, so I wouldn't have worried about it. I think that's just something you're going to use to defend yourself. At the end of the day, he's number 2 in the drivers' championship, and the number 1 driver in the drivers' champion is going to score minimal points this weekend. This is your chance to get closer to him and get ahead. And if at the end of the season he loses between the 7-point margin, this is on McLaren. His driver championship will be McLaren's fault.
Preach.
You can't blame it on one race, because you could use the same argument. You can find moments throughout the season to use that argument both ways. It doesn't all come out. It's a conglomeration of everything that happened.
Am I wrong that there's been some strategy problems that have left
Norris
behind?
But
this has happened to Norris.
Behind who?
From getting first place. I believe there was already at least two circumstances.
Yes, absolutely. For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
McLaren is screwing him.
So you're going to say that they should have taken the win from Oscar to maybe get him closer?
Yes, because you're
saying if he loses by 5 points, it'll be this one and only this race that affected it, and not Silverstone, and not Austria, and not anything else. It's this race specifically.
So we can agree.
Second.
So we can agree that McLaren has made. We can agree that McLaren has made multiple mistakes.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, but the biggest mistake that I'm going to remember for the remainder of the season is this one.
Okay.
Where's my popcorn?
They have a lot of making up to do.
No, look, I kind of agree with Eddie, because there was one thing that they said on the radio today for Norris that I'm like, yeah, they're kind of right. I don't know if you remember this, but they came on the radio, him saying, hey, a championship is won as a team, not by yourself. You're going to need Oscar later on in the season, so please listen to us. I kind of thought about it. I'm like, damn, they're right, but like, you guys messed up the strategy, so it's on you guys, McLaren. Lando just hold on to it, but he's
Lando
nice
messed
enough.
up the start.
Yeah, so that's on him too.
And it shows how important that was, because Oscar took the lead on turn 1 of lap 1, and he held the lead until McLaren screwed him over.
Mhm.
You're gonna tell me that wasn't
That's
important?
McLaren's problem.
What was more
Eddie,
important? What
that's
was more
why
important? Lando losing the lead on turn one, lap one. What was more important, that or them swapping at the end? Because Oscar
that
led the race the entire way,
I
but
get
he
it.
took the
I
lead.
get it. But because McLaren messed up the strategy, McLaren, that's your fault. And we're arguing,
Lando messed
even
up
though
the
they took
start.
P1 and
That's more
P2
important. They
is the
wouldn't be in that
funniest.
situation if Lando didn't mess up the start.
I'm just saying McLaren has not tried to fix their mistakes at all this season until right now, and it screwed Lando Norris over. So I guess, like I said earlier, we can agree to disagree on this. I hope Max Verstappen beats him by 50 for the drivers' championship, so we don't have to
No,
revisit
don't say
this.
that.
I don't. Whatever. Let's take a look at the constructor champion. Um, so basically, we have Red Bull still sitting pretty at number one, and there was a position swap between 2 and 3. So McLaren has now passed Ferrari. It's happening, guys. Um, and they basically were the winners of the weekend, McLaren, even though they had a lot of problems with a 43-point total combined with their drivers. And then behind that, we had Ferrari and Mercedes with equal weekends with 20 points, and then Red Bull with 16. There was no other movements in the champions. And yeah, we just kind of have McLaren separating themselves from Ferrari and getting a lot closer. They're within 50 points, 51 points. And if they keep driving, if Red Bull keeps driving with one driver, um, then they're just going to keep getting closer and closer. Um, one thing I did want to point out is that within the last 6 races, McLaren has scored the most points with 184. Mercedes behind McLaren with 163. Then we had Red Bull with 121 and Ferrari with 110. So within the last 6 races, McLaren has been the fastest car. Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. And without even looking up that statistic and seeing that, I think we can feel like that's what was happening.
Oh, for sure.
So, what do you guys think about the new updated Constructor Championship?
I mean, I think McLaren's going to win.
Yeah.
I think it's a done deal. Like, I don't unless Red Bull like that upgrade works at other tracks, then they have no shot. Especially if they swap their driver, because whoever they put in the car, it's going to take them a while to get up to speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I say the same too. Unfortunately, I just see also Ferrari just going down.
Yeah, it'll be hard
if
for them to lose third
if
place.
Mercedes keeps up the pace
Mhm.
for the rest of the season too, Ferrari can also drop to fourth. And I do think, honestly, look, McLaren after the whole Miami GP, they brought out the fast cars, and they have two great, super talented drivers. I also think by the end of the season, McLaren takes the constructors. I don't know about the drivers, but definitely the constructors.
Yep. Agreed to both of you guys. And our fastest lap goes to George Russell. Impressive race for him, as we previously spoken. And the driver of the day was Oscar Piastri. And I think he won driver of the day just right at the beginning of the race when he was like, nope, I'm in first. So good for him. Don't feel like talking about McLaren anymore because I don't want to fight with Eddie.
It doesn't have to be a fight. It can be a conversation. A nice conversation.
Listen, I'm like 2 weeks away from giving childbirth, and it could happen right now. Do you think I'm gonna like rationally sit here and have a rational conversation with you? No, I'm gonna get heated. I'm gonna get mad. So we covered a lot of notable moments. I would say the only thing that we did not mention, and it wasn't mentioned on TV, only on the internet, was Aston Martin was also going through some position swap drama towards the end of the race. It clearly wasn't as important as the one that we were paying attention to in the 1-2. But at the 10-11, they basically Austin Martin basically said, "Hey," to, I think it was
Alonso.
Alonso. Alonso was in 10. They told Alonso, "Hey, we want you to swap positions with Stroll." Stroll was in 11, so Stroll will take 10 because we think Stroll has the pace to pass Yuki Tsunoda at 9. If he cannot pass Yuki, you will get the position back and you will finish at 10. Well, Stroll couldn't pass Yuki, and Stroll didn't give the position back to his teammate. So, what do you guys think about that? A little drama there, and Aston Martin as well, because they haven't had enough drama this season with their car.
I guess I'll start. I think their drama doesn't really mean much. Like it's for 1 point, and it's between the boss's son or the guy who's gonna hit 400 races this year. Like whatever.
Well,
I ditto what Eddie says. Period.
But the lack of respect from Stroll to his elders.
Who's okay?
We don't even have to.
Y'all gonna start again?
No, it's really irrelevant, but it is something that happened.
Yeah, they didn't touch on it at all, though. I mean, he was close to Yuki. Like he did have a shot at passing him, which is fine. But honestly, I don't think Alonso cares about the point. Like that one, it doesn't change anything in either the drivers or the constructors, and it's just like an extra $2,000 that he'd have to pay at the end of the season to renew his license.
Yeah, you know what? It's just it's something that was out there on the internet that the reporters were talking about, but it really is irrelevant, and that's why the TV didn't even cover it.
Yeah.
So I think that is the notable moments, and I think unless you guys have anything else, I think then we can move on to predictions. But do you guys have anything?
Yeah, real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Poor Pierre Gasly, man.
Huh.
Another race he has to retire the car. I don't know. If it was me, I would just go up to I'll call a meeting and be like, "What the hell are you guys doing to my car? I mean, are we fighting for a constructor's decent placement here, or you guys are just gonna keep messing with me?" It's frustrating. I like him. I think Alpine is a great team. It's just, what is going on lately? That's all I wanted to say. Like, damn, poor guy, and second DNF in a row.
Yeah.
Did you hear anything, Eddie? Like why they DNF'd him? Because I didn't hear anything.
No, I mean he started from the pit lane because they put a bunch of new parts on his car. I'm assuming something went wrong there, but I mean Alpine is like the weirdest team this year.
Agreed.
They started as the worst car, and then there were like 4 races in a row where they scored points every weekend. You're like, oh, is Alpine back? And then now they can't even complete races. I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah, and when you just see the empty seat at Alpine, you're like, is that very enticing?
Nope.
So yeah. Eddie, you want to take us through predictions? Because we had a very interesting weekend with our results.
Sure. So let's start with our quali pole position. None of us got it right, but we all did pick somebody different. Veronica, you went for Max. Will went for George Russell. Might have been the farthest off. I went for Oscar Piastri, who almost came through.
So since Will was the furthest off, does he get minus points?
We could discuss minus points. He didn't make Q2.
Listen, that's not a thing.
Okay.
But yeah. All right, let's move on to our podium then. So Veronica, you had Lando winning.
No. Go
Veronica,
podium.
You had Lando winning, Max in second, George Russell third, and that was you had Lando on there, but he didn't win.
It's not in the right position, so
0 points. Will had Max winning, Lewis in second, Lando third. Now, if you would have just swapped Lando and Lewis, would have gotten 2 points, but
Mhm.
0 points. And I had Oscar Piastri winning, getting his first dub. Then I had George Russell second, Lewis Hamilton third. So I get 2 points for getting first and third correct.
This is why he's defending Oscar Piastri.
This is not why I'm defending Oscar Piastri. He won.
That's
okay,
exactly why
whatever.
he's.
He had
given,
like 80% of
not
driver of the
earned.
day votes. Like 80% of the people agree with me.
Look, I agree with that too. But at the end, from lap 55 to the end, I don't agree.
We can't go back to this conversation. Breakout performer and broken performer, please.
All right, let's do breakout and broken. So Vero had Perez for her breakout performer, and Daniel Ricciardo for her broken performer.
I think I get points for both of that.
For both?
But yes, because so Perez, where we do agree he was broken in qualifying, I believe he broke out because there's been moments this season where he broke himself in qualifying and stayed broken during the race. And during today's race, he actually found himself moving back into the points and helping out his team a little bit when he was like really off, starting from 16th.
Okay. I'm going to argue against for a second. So at a time where Red Bull needs every point that they can get, you can't be in a car that's won 6, there's been 13 races, so it's won 6 races. That car has won 6 races this year. You can't not make Q2 even. Like, he's getting knocked out in Q1. He had a good recovery drive. He ended up back in the points.
That's a breakout, Eddie.
Well, are we disregarding quali then? Because he broke the car.
We're talking. Look, isn't this about the
more
race
money
itself, not the whole weekend?
Oh, it's about the weekend.
Because if anything, I'll give her the point. I think it's a breakout because from what happened in Q1 to him finishing what?
8th, 7th, 8th.
Okay, but
7th.
I can agree that, like, as a Red Bull driver, like, you should be doing better. So that's why you wouldn't consider it a breakout. But we do know, my defense is, we do know how Sergio has been driving lately. So this is actually like progress for him.
Okay, progress maybe. But if he didn't wreck the car and he like qualified in like 9th or something, then maybe I could see it. But he qualified 16th because he wrecked the car.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It could, if it's 2-1, I'll be fine with it.
Just make it red. It's fine.
Well,
you don't have to give me a
from
point.
Starting P16 to ending in 7th, you're gonna tell me that's not a breakout?
He shouldn't be starting P16. He shouldn't be wrecking a car. This is a terrible weekend for Checo.
I agree with you.
He saved it a little bit by getting some points.
I agree with you, but he's been like this for multiple weekends, and at the end he ends up not scoring. So the fact that he did really bad in qualifying and actually scored some points and didn't crash his car during the race, I thought was progress. But if we don't think it's a breakout,
I don't think it's a breakout.
Then
we just go
no points. It's fine. We can go no points.
Half a point? We're bringing in half points now?
No, we're not doing this.
All right, Daniel Ricciardo. You think he was broken? Does he qualified 9th?
Personally, I think he did a very good job positioning himself for the race. We have to say that he's broken because he placed very badly.
That wasn't on him.
But we all know it was strategy. No. I'm saying that. But we know it was strategy.
No, so his team qualified poorly.
No. He qualified very well.
Yeah.
But we do know that his team screwed him over. So like, it's not like a full broken, in my opinion. So I guess
half a point.
No.
I thought he had a good weekend. He
did. His team messed him up for sure.
Yeah, I thought he had a good weekend. He outqualified his teammate, and I mean, it came out of nowhere. Like he made his first pit stop really early, and then by the time his second pit stop came around, you're like, wait, how is Daniel Ricciardo in 16th?
Mm-hmm.
I was confused when I saw them pulling up to pit
He,
in lap 7. I'm like,
he didn't get
why?
he wasn't really overtaken by anybody. It was just the strategy was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Will had for breakout performer Yuki and broken performer.
Fernando
Um,
Alonso.
I think Yuki did really good. I think Will gets a point for that. It's such a shame that he crashed the car. And from the Yuki we saw like 3-4 years ago, the immature Yuki, he would blame everything on the team. He was always super angry. I think after that crash, he was like heartbroken and he knew he made a mistake and he felt so bad for the team that they were going to have to work to fix his car and he was so worried. And he comes back in the race and he actually positioned himself really well. And at the same time, he didn't really waste his team's time. They fixed the car and he scored points. So good for him. 2 points for Yuki this weekend. I think he was a breakout performer. And what do you guys think about Alonso being broken?
And quote on the Lad podcast, you said, if he ends up behind Lance Stroll, that is a broken performance. Go.
I was joking. I don't think he had. I think it was mediocre race. Nothing good, nothing bad. What
I
do you
just
think,
think the
Eddie?
Aston Martin wasn't very good. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they finished exactly where they were supposed to. Maybe
Yeah.
Yuki take Yuki out and they're in 9th and 10th, which is exactly
Where they should be.
where their team is.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only reason Alonso finished behind his teammate is because they swapped them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree. No points for Will there. Sorry, baby.
My breakout
And
performer
that
was
means
Alex
Eddie
Albon.
doesn't get any.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna have a good
Albon
weekend.
Was
He
Albon
almost
racing
had a
this
good
weekend? I
weekend.
didn't hear anything about him.
He almost had a good weekend.
14.
He is really close to having a good weekend. He started in 12th, I think, 13th maybe,
He
something like that.
started, 13th, and he ended the race in 14th. That's a breakout, Eddie.
That is not ideal.
I'm kidding.
And for broken, I had Aston Martin, which I don't think they were broken. I just think that's where their car is.
Yep. Agreed.
How about
So
wild
then-
predictions?
Yeah, Wild Predictions was a shit show. I would just say our breakout performer and broken performer was probably the most debatable, and everything else was just like, no. Like Wild Prediction, like K-Mag getting suspended. When I did see that they gave up his seat for Haas, like for sure he's not going to be in Haas next season, I was like, ooh. I was like, maybe he's going to be a little spicy on the track on Sunday, but no. So mine was wrong.
Yep. And then Will had
Mine was
Sergio.
also wrong.
It was close though.
Yep, it was close. I wasn't counting on Sergio to do as good as he did, and I was counting on Russell to do better, which caused me not to get my point from my wild prediction.
Yeah, which was
Yep.
that Sergio will drop to P8
It is what
in the
it is.
drivers. He only dropped to P7, no points. And I had
Oh,
Daniel
darn it.
Ricciardo in the points, which I'm still not sure how I didn't get points for that.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't staring at Ricardo's race. I do know that his team screwed him, but I don't know how he ended up
Yeah.
in 12. It's impressive. It's crazy. So, what's the point update, Eddie?
Point totals now are Will has 11 points. You got 1 point this weekend. Veronica is up to 8.5 because we're giving you the half point for Checo. And I've got 10 points. So Will is ahead by 1 point.
Let's go.
All right.
And we got a long season to go.
And the tie between me and you, because we started 8 points, is
Yeah.
is
That's been
no
broken.
longer there. Yeah,
I'm just going
Now
for
in
safe
third
picks
place.
from now on. Breakout performer Max Verstappen.
but it's fun to pick the ones
Broken
that
performer
are
Checo Perez.
No, I'm pretty competitive. I'm going for this podcasters championship. We should do a trophy at the end of this.
Oh, we can do a trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We could
and we
do a
could like
trophy.
update the name every season. I'm
Yeah.
down. I'm super down for that. Well, this was a long one because there was a lot to talk about. We want to thank you guys for hanging out with us today on today's episode of OverTakes, where we got our takes from the track.
Do me a favor, guys. Hold on. If you come across to watching this far out, please let me know your thoughts on the whole McLaren Piastri Lando thing. Wherever you are in the world, I want to see what your take is on that decision that McLaren made. Please leave a comment.
Yeah, and let us know how we're doing. We're three friends that just really like Formula One, and we decided that instead of just talking about it on the group chat and amongst each other, we would do it in front of a camera and share it, see what comes out of it. So let us know what you think. And we are looking forward to the next race next weekend. We're going to Spa, right?
Yep.
So let's see how that goes. And we can't wait to share it with you guys next weekend. So
yep.
We will see you guys later.
Bye, world.